Tell me this. Have you ever watched a horror movie so personal, so intimate, so disturbingly magical that halfway through you stopped breathing, not because you were scared of the monster, because you suddenly realized you might be the monster too?
Yeah.
Welcome to The Serpent's Skin. And if you think this is just another indie horror with neon lighting and a sprinkle of blood,
Oh no.
this one hides its fangs in plain sight. I'm James Roxer, and this is Bire Dobio. And if you're the kind of person who thinks they've seen every kind of horror twist, pause that ego right there. What Alice Mayo Mackay just did at 21 years old, it doesn't just rewrite the genre, it slices through its spine and wears it like a trophy. But here's the problem nobody's talking about. This film isn't just horror, it's forbidden autobiography disguised as cinema. It looks like storytelling, but under the skin, it's a confession. And I'm about to pull back every layer you didn't even know was there. Let me ask you something. What if the scariest part of a horror movie isn't the monster chasing people through the shadows, but the part where the monster is right and everyone else is wrong? Sounds insane. Good, because that's the energy of Anna. We meet her not in a cemetery, not in a haunted house, but in a place way more familiar. The moment your family decides you are too much to love. She doesn't walk into horror, she's pushed into it disguised as relocation. Her parents, disembodied voices arguing off screen like ghosts who pay rent. And already, the film is whispering its first secret: the real possession isn't demonic, it's social. Anna lands in Adelaide like she's fallen through a parallel dimension that pretends to be normal. Her sister Dakota offers shelter, but it's not safety, it's a pause button. The kind you press right before a jump scare. Enter Danny. Tattooed, painted nails, cis male with the posture of someone who thinks eyeliner is activism. And when Anna tells him about her gender and he says, "That's fine," that line should be studied under a microscope. Because "that's fine" is not acceptance, it's anesthesia. But here's the first twist nobody catches: the horror doesn't begin in the streets, or in a ritual, or in a blood-soaked basement. It begins with casual tolerance. And just when you think the movie is still unpacking boxes, it unloads its first act of violence. A knife-wielding thief crashes into the record store where Anna works, cracks her head against the ground, and in a surge of pink, she doesn't scream, she implodes him from inside. Let that visual sink in. No magic words, no CGI lightning, no training montage, just pure instinct wrapped in trauma. His eyes bleed like an omen, his mouth spills truth before his body hits the floor. What do you even call that? Revenge? Mutation? Witchcraft? Evolution? Maybe all four. Now pause. Because in most horror movies, the possession comes later. But in The Serpent's Skin, power doesn't enter Anna. It leaks out of her like it's been caged behind her ribs her whole life. And that is when Jen arrives. Not a mentor, not a villain. Something in between. A mirror with teeth. Jen doesn't panic. She recognizes. She says Anna has something called popping, a defense mechanism. But watch Jen's eyes. She isn't describing power. She's confessing to it. This isn't X-Men. This isn't Carrie. This is something way older. Because what do societies call women who can change reality with emotion?
Yeah.
Witches. And what do they do with witches, exactly? Before I keep peeling this, let me say this once and only once. If you're into breakdowns where we don't just recap, but surgically expose the secrets filmmakers bury under the dialogue, then don't just watch, commit. Subscribe to Biarkadibuen right now so you don't end up searching for forbidden knowledge during the end credits like a lost NPC. Back to the bleeding. Anna's power is introduced as an accident, but what if it wasn't? What if horror isn't something she discovers, but something she remembers? Because the entire film keeps asking the same silent question. What if magic is just self-defense after you've run out of apologies? And here's where Alice Mayo Mackay starts playing chess with our insides. The film acts like it's about supernatural discovery. But underneath that, it's horror as autobiography. Every queer person who has survived long enough to develop a defense mechanism will feel the truth of that pink flash like a punch. When Jen tells Anna popping can be dangerous if used too much, you think she's talking about supernatural consequences. No, she's talking about social punishment, about what happens when your survival mechanism stops being invisible. Because here's the twisted, ugly truth: society doesn't mind you existing until you make them bleed. Let me loop you into something you might have missed. This film doesn't open by asking for sympathy. It opens by daring you to accuse her of being dangerous. And she is. But not in the way bigots want her to be. In the way survivors become when they're done dying. Now, let's zoom out. Because this movie isn't Alice Mackay's first rodeo. She has built an entire filmography on the edge of a scream, but The Serpent's Skin is where she stops asking for the audience to catch up. She's not waiting at the door anymore. She's already inside the house. And the horror genre. For decades, it used queerness and transness as metaphor. Now, the metaphor kicked down the door and is wearing the director's chair as a crown. Do you get how rare that is, 21? Year-old directors don't usually get to write their nightmares in blood and neon and call it cinema. But she did. And the industry can't ignore it much longer without looking like it's afraid. By the time we hit the midpoint of the story, the question isn't what is Anna, It's what happens when the world realizes she exists. And let me tell you, the world notices. Jen watches her, Danny desires her, Buzz hires her, Dakota shelters her, but none of them understand what she actually is. Because how do you categorize someone who survives violence by weaponizing biology itself? Now, here's the part people pretend is subtle but absolutely is not. Queer characters don't die first in this movie. They don't get picked off or sacrificed. The killers are the old rules, the monsters are the familiar faces, and the magic is rage refined into precision. And speaking of rage, remember that knife-wielding thief. Everyone keeps calling him the inciting incident. No, he's the first volunteer. And wait until we talk about what Jen really wants, because if you think she just wants to help Anna control her power, you're adorably unprepared. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We've only sliced through the first layer, and trust me, the serpent hasn't even shed its skin yet. Now here's where things stop being just another indie horror and start feeling like a spell cast in real time. Because Anna's story isn't just about survival, it's about transformation, perception, and that terrifying moment when your identity stops being theoretical and becomes powerful enough to change the room you're in. And that's exactly when Jen steps in. Jen doesn't arrive like a mentor. She arrives like an omen, quiet, unnerving, and somehow already knowing Anna before Anna knows herself. She tells Anna they're the same, but doesn't say how. She doesn't need to. Because in Mackey's world, recognition is a form of magic. And this is where the film slips into something that doesn't feel like horror, but remembrance. That popping ability. It's not just a supernatural defense move, it's a metaphor for every moment a trans person has been backed into a corner and forced to manifest power they didn't ask for. Mackay doesn't treat it like an accident or a gimmick either. She treats it like blood memory, like rage and self-preservation turned into neon.
Yeah.
And when Jen starts teaching Anna how to use it, oh, that's not training, that's initiation. Their interactions are loaded. Every glance is both softer and sharper than it should be. It's witchcraft in plain clothes. The sensuality isn't for show. It's survival coded in touch, breath, and shared danger. But let me tell you what's even wilder. This movie doesn't pause to explain itself to people outside the experience. It's not begging to be understood, it's daring you to keep up. While Anna and Jen are unlocking this psychic, witchy, explosive force of identity, Danny, the tattooed, painted, nailed bad boy neighbor, starts mutating too. And not in the cool, sexy way the movie wants you to hope for. That Ouroboros tattoo on his neck, yeah, that wasn't just edgy art direction. It's possession disguised as aesthetic. One minute he's the good ally, the kind who says the bare minimum, that's fine, and thinks that counts as acceptance. The next minute, something older, uglier, and darker is moving under his skin. He doesn't evolve, he decays. While Anna leans into her power with curiosity and fear, Danny becomes a warning label for cis masculinity in horror, seductive until it isn't, present until it's predatory. And Mackay doesn't soften that. She doesn't create safe villains. She creates the kind you've already met in real life. And the terror isn't just that he changes, it's that he was always capable of it. Meanwhile, the film doesn't lose its pulse. Romance and danger run parallel instead of colliding. Queerness isn't the subplot. It's the bloodstream of the whole story. And when Anna and Jen stop an attempted assault in an alley, it's not a hero moment, it's a reality check disguised as supernatural justice. There's no waiting for the police, there's no waiting for permission, there's no savior coming, there's just power meeting threat, and refusing to apologize for it. Mackay knows exactly what she's doing. She's not making horror about monsters, she's making horror about truth. And truth in this world doesn't whisper, it detonates.